Hi, you are warmly welcome once again to another edition or episode of the SANKOFA Shift. Here we explore or we retrieve history to build the future. We are on a mission, focused and target specific, that our nation Ghana, and by extension Africa, will be able to see the light of glory. Yes, there is a thick veil of hopelessness almost across our nation and continent. And the end result is that many people are leaving to find greener pastures because many people have given up that things cannot work. For us, we are on the contrary. The more we see problems, the more we smile at it, because buried within that problem is a seed of solution. And God is raising all of us for such a time as this to be able to change the narrative. Today, we will end with the basic introduction, which we started with about a month or a few weeks ago, on the state-nation gap. On the state-nation gap. By this time, I believe that the narratives, looking at the comments and then the conversations going on, we are so blissfully happy for the feedback that we are getting. It shows that there is a gradual, progressive resonance with the subject matter. All what we have said so far is that substance is the real deal and the form is the external element that gives expression to the substance. The real deal is the substance, is the core, is the being. And as a man is, so is a society. So when you take the country called Ghana, Ghana is a state because we have the characteristics of statehood, which is predicated on the fact that we have a functional constitution, we have a government, we have our physical borders, we have a population, and we have a legal entity. On the other hand, Ghana is not yet a nation because we have not been able to build ourselves around a common vision. And that is what makes a nation, one language, one people. And the unfinished responsibility or project or task on our shoulders as a people is that it is time to build our nation. Statehood is the container, and the real deal or the content is the nation. Efforts have been made over the ages, or even right from independence, or even before independence. Efforts have been made by individuals and by institutions and systems and organizations in our quest to build our nation. But unfortunately, it has not really translated into that monumental shift in tangible transformations. Example, at the point of independence, though we might have built a state, we also realized that there was a need to bind us together because we are coming from various segments. As I said, 4 blocks came together to form the entity called Ghana. The Western Togoland, the Gold Coast Colony, the Asante Confederacy, and then the Northern Protectorate. And these 4 came together to form the entity called Ghana. And even with these, there were tribal factions and tensions and other elements or divisional elements even before we came together. So in order to bind us together, there was something like the national flag. So that's why we don't call it the statehood flag. The national anthem, the anthem of the nation. So we started procuring certain things that could possibly bind us together so that we can have a flag, red, gold, green, with a black star, which will go beyond tribal interests and go beyond religious interests and bring us together that this is Ghana. So we must not conclude that no effort was made. Efforts were made. The national flag, the coat of arms, the national pledge, and the patriotic song. So today we sing some of them. Growing up, we're singing them as march past to enter the classrooms. And then we sing some of them, especially during demonstrations. Songs like, we are all involved. We are all involved. We are all involved in building our motherland. Powerful lyrics. Arise, Ghana youth, for your country. The nation demands your devotion. So if you're a footballer, now answer never throw, you must get this bonus. You must get this bonus. Can't we shift and see that it is out of patriotism? Yes, you must be paid, but the focus is so much on the money. And one of the places that the real thing that ought to be done with the Ghana sports side, yes, soccer, near football, it will see a guno. It will see a guno. If I were to be a president today, that is the first thing. Even if we've qualified for World Cup that very year, we will send them an official letter to FIFA that we are doing internal reconstruction. So, when we are ready, we'll let you know. If it will take 4 years, if it will take 8 years, if it will take 5 years to rebuild the whole thing, it is very important. The people clogged out there at the various levels and all corruptions, everyone must be ransacked. And we must rebuild it on an entire spree. That is the kind of nation that we want. Accountability. Accountability. It's very much unfortunate. Accountability. So the point is that efforts have been made, but the efforts are not good enough. We had a national anthem. We had patriotic songs. We had the national pledge. We had the coat of arms. So the assumption is that the more we are singing these songs, and then we see these things, now so 69 years down the line, we realize that no, corruption. So it means we need something more. The religious contribution, the churches, the mosques, they have also done well, but it is not enough. And to some extent, religion as practiced in Ghana and Africa has contributed. Get my words very well. I'm not saying religion in its generic sense, but religion as practiced. Kwanya ya faso esum yenyame ewo Ghana ne Africa hanom no impempi no entweye. It is mixed with all kinds of superstition, and then religion can easily be used and has been used to abuse people, to manipulate people, to cajole people, and to destroy families. Unfortunately, as Jesus said, but from the beginning it was not so. This is not how it ought to be. Because the voice of moral conscience is religion. And it is the moral conscience that builds the substance, which is the values. So it means that if the values is the substance, and then the substance of our nation is weak and sick and frail, then one of the people who must be implicated in this discussion is the religious bodies and entities. I believe it is time for the religious leaders to go back to the drawing board. That what kind of doctrine and theology and practices and beliefs are we giving to our people that is unable to transform their hearts and transform their minds? Because the voice of moral conscience is religion. If religion dies, then the conscience we will have is the kind of, a nation that we have, unfortunately. We live in a place where you say in painful way disikano or mobeba sorry them, you will give them platforms, you will give them the best of seats, because after all or qua obeja some cash a brown envelope 50,000, 100,000. Some of our pastors have become politicized and they are just dancing to the tune of these politicians instead of speaking truth to power and then aligning with objective truth. They have become, unfortunately, partisan. So, social support, educational system, international support. Do you know that over trillions of dollars have been pumped to Africa through China, India, World Bank, IMF, EU, just name it. They thought that the solution to poverty is just giving the people money. No, you don't solve poverty through handout or by handing out money. Oh, jiwe kakra. Debbie. No wonder we have been to IMF about 17 to 18 times. It has not helped because that is not what we use in solving our problem. As Einstein said, you cannot solve a problem with the same level of thinking that brought about the problem. It means that we must think beyond the gravitational pull of the mind that caused the problem. And that is the burden of the new generation, to think differently. That is why we call it the SANKOFA shift. To shift from things which were done wrongly or inappropriately in the past. Our focus is not to lay a blame game, but our focus is to put ourselves on the line and make sure that our nation will be built to the glory of God. Education came because it is being said that education is the key. But to say the air cano, a face squad, the school, it looks like Omas padlock no. In the key na cry no yen to me Kenya Samoa. Africa has over 668 public universities. Yet still, we contribute less than 1% to global research. Where are our professors? Where are our PhD holders? Where are academic centers? It is time for a powerful revolution. This time, not a revolution of guns, not a revolution of swords. This time, a revolution of the mind and a revolution of the spirit. I trust you got me well. It is time for a powerful revolution, but I am defining the revolution. More technically, I'm referring to a reformation. But if you want to talk about a revolution, then I am not talking about a revolution of swords. I'm not talking about a revolution of a firing squad. I am not talking about the revolution of guns. I am not talking about a revolution of blood. I am talking about a revolution of the mind and then a revolution of the spirit. A new generation is rising. And this generation will birth a transformed Ghana. This generation will birth a transformed Africa. As we put the pieces together, what is the challenge? The challenge on our hands is for a new generation that will fill in the gap. Now we've seen that there is the state-nation gap. And as God cried, he said that, and I sought for a man to stand in the gap. Tonight I want to ask you very passionately, are you willing and are you ready to be part of a movement? Are you willing to be part of an army? Are you willing to be part of a people who will stand in the gap? Which gap? The state-nation gap. Since we have the state, our duty is to birth the nation and build it. And then the state will express it. And I believe this is our generation's unfinished business. I'll end with this statement, as I've always been saying, that nations are successful not because of their geographical location. Nations are successful not because of their natural resources. Nations are successful because of the quality of their value systems. Rich and strong values will birth rich and strong nations. And poor and weak values will also beget poor and weak nations. Ghana, and for that matter, Africa, is weak and poor, not because of the paucity of her natural resources, not because of the tropical zone for which we are located geographically, but rather it is on the account of the weakness and poverty of our value systems. And it is these values and virtues and moral fiber and ethical foundations, these are the things that builds the substance, or these are the things that make up the substance. It means that the rebuilding of our nation must rest on ethical foundations. It means that the rebuilding of our nation must rest on moral reorientation. Rebuilding the ethical foundation of Ghana so that we can have a common vision that binds us together. One nation, one people, one language. This is what we are gravitating towards. A common vision that 40 years time, that 50 years time, this is where we intend to get to. The duty, therefore, of political parties is not to read to us their idiosyncratic manifestos, so that as a nation, we will be at the whims and caprices of the manifestos of political parties. We must rather ride on the wheel and anvil of a common vision. So during elections, our duty is to appoint or elect somebody or people we think have the inherent capacity, the character, the substance, the will, and the desire to take us 4 years closer to our corporate common vision. And that is what nationhood is about. Who is willing to stand in the gap? I am willing to stand in the gap. Let me know also in the comment section. What do you also think? Are you willing to join me? Are you willing to join us? Are you willing to join a rising force, a rising army, a rising citizenry, and a rising leadership that together we will build our nation? We are indeed all involved, and we will build it to the glory of God, for God and country, Ghana. We will come your way again next week. And from next week, we are now going to delve into the history or the historical archives, starting with the pre-colonial times. It's going to be a beautiful narrative of historical events, picking lessons, and then bringing it to the fore of today's table, and then making projections into the future. And you cannot afford to miss it. Tell a friend, to tell a brother, to tell a sister that it is time for the SANKOFA shift. God richly bless you, and as we've always said, we see a new tomorrow. See you and stay blessed. Omar for